Chapter 15. River's medical dream had been Adams, a noble pursuit, a steady profession, a life dedicated to healing. River had fought tooth and nail to reclaim it after his devastating fall. He had passed his boards, a promise fulfilled to Vera, a hard-won victory. But as he navigated Scotland's complex medical landscape, the crushing reality of his public exposure began to close every door. His name, River Hayes, was now irrevocably linked to the Velvet Mask, a global sensation whose public unmasking had included damning allegations of addiction, mental instability, and fraud. The media storm, though the worst of it had passed, left an indelible stain on his reputation. He applied for residencies, for junior doctor positions, for any opportunity to practice medicine in Scotland. He pored over applications, meticulously crafting his CV, highlighting his academic achievements, his renewed dedication, his hard-won board certification. He meticulously prepared for interviews, rehearsing answers to the inevitable questions about his past, his hiatus from medicine, and his personal life. The rejections came, swift and brutal. "We appreciate your application, Dr. Hayes," one email read, cold and impersonal, from a prestigious Edinburgh hospital. "However, given the recent public scrutiny surrounding your persona and the serious allegations raised, we believe your presence would be a detriment to our institution's reputation and patient trust." Another, from a smaller clinic, politely stated, "While your academic record is impressive, the highly publicized details of your personal history, including past substance abuse and questions regarding your mental stability, present a significant concern regarding your suitability for direct patient care." He even managed to secure a few interviews, but they were always a thinly veiled interrogation. "Dr. Hayes, can you assure us that past challenges will not impact your performance when dealing with vulnerable patients?" a stern-faced panel member asked, her eyes sharp, assessing. "How do you intend to build patient trust when your public image includes accusations of fraud and mental instability? Given the attention you attract, how would you protect our patients' privacy?" He explained calmly, rationally, about Ireland's malice, about the fabricated narrative, about his recovery, his therapy, his unwavering commitment to medicine. He stressed that he was clean, stable, and ready to heal. He offered character references from his professors, his therapist, Adam. But the words felt hollow, echoing against walls of skepticism and entrenched public perception. His professional identity, his very credibility as a healer, was irrevocably tainted by the sensationalized version of the Velvet Mask. The dream that had been his adoptive father's, the path that Vera had urged him to follow, was systematically being denied. He was a doctor, but he could not practice. He returned from these interviews, his shoulders slumped, his face a mask of profound defeat. He would spend hours staring at rejection letters, the hope slowly draining from his eyes. He tried to maintain a facade of stoicism, but Kate saw the despair, the quiet pain of a dream slipping away. "It's not fair, River," she would say, her voice gentle, heartbroken, holding him close. "You've worked so hard for this. You've fought so hard to get back on this path. You deserve this." "Fair has never been in the cards for me, Kate," he would reply, a bitter, humorless laugh escaping him. "This is the price of the mask, the price of exposure, the price of having a past like mine." He felt like a medical ghost, trained and ready to heal, but denied the very opportunity. His purpose felt shattered, his identity as a healer irrevocably tainted. He was trapped, once again, by the very fame he had sought to control. And now, he had no music to escape. He was truly adrift, a man without a purpose, haunted by a past he couldn't outrun, and a future that seemed to offer him no solace. The rejections piled up, each crisp letter a fresh wound to River's psyche, systematically shutting down his medical dream. His professional purpose, once a beacon, was extinguished. The quiet despair of this dead end was already a heavy burden, but now a new, more terrifying fear began to grip him. The safety of Kate and her boys. The subtle hints of surveillance, once easy to dismiss as paranoia, intensified, becoming undeniable threats. It started with anonymous emails to Kate, forwarded to River, praising her beautiful family, mentioning the boys by name. Then, a strange car, dark and nondescript, was seen parked repeatedly down their quiet street in Edinburgh, lingering for hours. A few times, as River picked up Liam from football practice, he noticed a flash of a camera lens from a distant car, or a figure quickly ducking behind a tree. It was relentless, intrusive, and chillingly specific. The breaking point came one sunny afternoon when Finn, His quiet, artistic son was playing in their front garden. A man, cloaked in a dark hoodie, suddenly appeared at their gate. He carried a bouquet of flowers, but his eyes, visible above his mask, were fixed with an unsettling intensity on Finn. "Is this Finn?" the man asked, his voice low, almost reverent, as he held out the flowers. "Are you the Velvet Mask's son?" Finn, startled, looked up, his young face confused. Before he could answer, Kate, who had been watching from the window, rushed out, her heart leaping into her throat, a primal fear seizing her. She instinctively pulled Finn behind her, her body shielding him. "Can I help you?" Kate asked, her voice firm, laced with a fear she tried desperately to hide. Her gaze was locked on the man, assessing, protective. The man merely smiled, a chilling, almost possessive gaze fixed on Kate, then flicking to River, who had just come out of the house, drawn by the "Just a fan," the man murmured, his eyes lingering on Finn, a disturbing glint in their depths. "Just wanted to say hello to the Velvet Mask family. Tell him his music means the world to us." He placed the flowers on the gate and walked away, slowly, deliberately, his presence a dark stain on their peaceful afternoon, leaving behind a profound sense of violation. River's blood ran cold. The Velvet Mask's son. The words echoed in his mind, a terrifying realization that screamed of the direct danger he now posed. His fame, his exposure, was no longer just a personal burden. It was a direct, tangible threat to Kate and the boys. This wasn't just a fan. It was an intrusion, a violation, a clear signal that their carefully guarded haven was compromised. His very presence in their lives, his love, had become a conduit for danger. That night, after the boys were asleep, River paced the living room, his hands trembling. Kate sat on the sofa, her face pale, her eyes wide with a fear that mirrored his own, her usual strength overshadowed by terror. "We can't stay here, River," Kate whispered, her voice raw, choked with anguish. "Not like this. It's not safe. They're finding us. They know about the boys. They're getting closer." Her hands clasped tightly in her lap, her body rigid with suppressed panic. "I can't risk them, River. My sons, I can't, not for anything." Her voice broke then, a raw sob escaping her lips. River stopped, looking at her, his heart aching with an unbearable pain. He had promised to be present, to protect them, to build a life with her. But his life, his identity as the Velvet Mask, was a magnet for chaos, for danger. He had already sacrificed his anonymity. His medical career was utterly blocked. Now the ultimate sacrifice loomed, a cold, hard choice he never thought he'd have to make. He knew what he had to do. The realization settled over him, absolute and devastating. There was only one way to truly protect Kate and the boy. He had to disappear from the public eye completely. He had to silence the Velvet Mask forever. And that meant giving up his passion, his very soul, his last true outlet for expression. The decision was a lead weight in River's gut, heavy and final. He stood in his studio, platinum plaques on the walls mocking his despair, silent witnesses to the agonizing choice he had to make. He had spent hours last night after the incident with Finn, talking with Kate, their voices raw with fear and a desperate love. The choice was clear, brutal in its simplicity, his music or their safety, his passion or their peace. He picked up his guitar, its cool weight a familiar comfort in his hands. He strummed a few chords, a mournful melody that echoed the profound loss in his heart, a requiem for a dream. This wasn't just a hiatus. This wasn't a break. This was the end. He had to permanently silence the Velvet Mask. He had to erase himself from the public consciousness, become truly invisible, truly forgotten. Only then, he believed, could Kate and the boys be safe. He thought of the countless hours he'd poured into his music, the raw emotions, the whispered truths, the catharsis he'd found in creation. This was his soul, his lifeline, the only true way he knew how to express the complexities of his fractured spirit. It was the one place he felt utterly real, utterly free, utterly unmasked. But now, it had become a cage, a magnet for danger, a direct threat to the family he loved more than life itself. The fame he'd never sought, the success he couldn't publicly claim, was now destroying the very foundation of his happiness, threatening the peace he had so desperately sought. He sat down, his fingers hovering over the strings, a profound sadness settling over him. He wouldn't write any more songs. He wouldn't record. He wouldn't perform, not even virtually. The Velvet Mask would become a ghost, a legend whispered in the annals of music history, an unfulfilled promise to millions of fans. "Elias," Rivers stated, his voice calm, resolute, "I'm making it official. I'm retiring from the Velvet Mask, permanently, effective immediately. There will be no more music, no more interviews, no more appearances of any kind. I'm withdrawing entirely from the public eye. Completely. A long pause. Then Elias sighed. Here we go again, he muttered, weariness lacing his tone. You've quit before, River. Hell, 3 times we're counting the silent treatments. But this, his voice tightened. This sounds different. It is different, River said quietly. They're threatening my family. I thought the stalking thing would scare them off, but they didn't buy it. Now it's Kate, the boys. I can't let this go on. Elias's voice was flat. So you're really doing this? I know, River replied steady, but they didn't believe the stalking story. And now they're threatening my family, Elias. I can't risk their lives to keep wearing a mask. Elias was quiet again, but it was different this time. He wasn't angry, just processing. Damn it, River, he muttered, the fight in him shifting. Why didn't you tell me it had gotten that bad? I'm telling you now. Another beat. Then Elias's voice returned, quieter but still edged with steel. Then let me handle it. Let me get someone else to wear the mask. Keep the project alive without exposing you. We've done it before. Another long breath on the other end of the line. Then Elias said, You're asking me to let you walk away from everything we built. Years of work, blood, sweat, the goddamn breakdowns. You want me to just watch you throw it all away? I know, River replied. But none of it matters if they're not safe. My identity's compromised. I'm a liability now. And family comes first. This is not negotiable. My lawyer will be in touch with the withdrawal terms and my acceptance of the penalties. Whatever they are. You think I give a damn about penalties right now? He said finally, voice cracking just slightly. You're like a little brother to me, River. I fought for you when no one else would. Now you're making a hell of a sacrifice. River's voice softened, but it didn't waver. It's not a sacrifice, it's a choice. And it's the only one that makes sense. There was silence again, heavy. Then Elias, his voice rough, simply said, All right. River blinked. All right? I don't agree with it, Elias said. But I hear you. I'll speak to legal. We'll find the least destructive path through this. I'm not happy, but I'm not your enemy, River. Elias exhaled sharply through his nose. And you sure that your solution is to burn the whole damn thing down? No, River said. My solution is to walk away before someone gets hurt. Silence again, heavier now. Elias's voice lowered, quieter, but with an edge. You keep walking away from the mask, River. Every time it gets too loud, too dark. I've stood by you through all of it. But this isn't just an album delay or a ghosting phase. You're nuking your career. For good. I know, River said. And I'm still doing it. My lawyer will handle the exit. I'll pay whatever I owe. Every cent. A bitter chuckle from Elias. You think money fixes this? There's a legacy here. Your legacy. You built something people believe in. You are the Velvet Mask. Not anymore. Another pause. Then, quietly, so that's it? River nodded to himself. That's it. The line stayed quiet for a moment, and when Elias spoke again, he sounded tired, worn, but not angry. Then I'll do what I can, he said. I'll loop in legal, try to soften the fallout. But this is your last exit, River. No more safety nets. If you go dark this time, really dark, I won't come chasing. I wouldn't ask you to. Elias exhaled one last time. Then, God damn it, kid. I hope you find what you're looking for. I hope so too, River whispered. Goodbye, River. This time, the line didn't crackle with rage or echo with slammed words. This time, it just ended. He tried to shift his focus, to redirect his purpose, to cling to the other dream, medicine. He had passed his boards, a promise fulfilled to Vera. Was an aspiring doctor. He was in Scotland, a new country, a new start. He began to apply for residency positions, for any available medical role, desperately seeking a way to put his hard-won knowledge and his desire to heal into practice. He yearned to put his hands to work, to dedicate himself to a tangible purpose. The rejections came, swift and brutal, mirroring the ones he had received in California. Dr. Hayes, your application to the General Medical Residency Program has been reviewed, one email read, cold and impersonal, from a prestigious Edinburgh hospital. However, given the recent public scrutiny surrounding your persona and the serious allegations of addiction and mental instability widely circulated, following your recent unmasking, we believe your presence would be a detriment to our institution's reputation and patient trust. We are unable to offer you a position at this time. The words were a direct, stinging indictment confirming his worst fears. Another, from a smaller clinic, was more direct, less veiled in professional politeness. Your public association with The velvet mask and the recent controversies raise unavoidable questions regarding patient trust and confidentiality. We have a duty to ensure our practitioners are beyond reproach. Therefore, we must decline your application. We wish you success in your future endeavors. He even managed to secure a few interviews, but they were always a thinly veiled interrogation, focusing not on his medical knowledge, but on the public scandal. Dr. Hayes, can you assure us that your past challenges will not impact your performance when dealing with vulnerable patients? A stern-faced panel member asked, her eyes sharp as that. How do you intend to build patient trust when your public image includes accusations of fraud and instability? Given the attention you attract, how would you protect our patients' privacy and the privacy of the hospital itself from media intrusion? He explained calmly, rationally, about Ireland's malice, about the fabricated narrative, about his recovery, his therapy, his unwavering commitment to medicine. He stressed that he was clean, stable, and ready to heal. He offered character references from his professors, his therapist, Adam. He detailed his extensive volunteerism, his dedication to the community. But the words felt hollow, echoing against walls of skepticism and entrenched public perception. His professional identity, his very credibility as a healer, was irrevocably tainted by the sensationalized version of the velvet mask. The dream that had been his adoptive father's, the path that Vera had urged him to follow, was systematically being denied. He was a doctor, but he could not practice. He returned from these interviews, his shoulders slumped, his face a mask of profound defeat. He would spend hours staring at rejection letters, the hope slowly draining from his eyes. He tried to maintain a facade of stoicism, but Kate saw the despair, the quiet pain of a dream slipping away. It's not fair, River, she would say, her voice gentle, heartbroken, holding him close. You've worked so hard for this. You fought so hard to get back on this path. You deserve this. Fair has never been in the cards for me, Kate, he would reply, a bitter, humorless laugh escaping him. This is the price of the mask, the price of exposure, the price of having a past like mine. He felt like a medical ghost, trained and ready to heal, but denied the very opportunity. His purpose felt shattered, his identity as a healer irrevocably tainted. He was trapped, once again, by the very fame he had sought to control, and now he had no music to escape. He was truly adrift, a man without a purpose, haunted by a past he couldn't outrun, and a future that seemed to offer him no solace. The world, once a vibrant tapestry of music and medicine, had become a bleak, monochromatic landscape for River. He was a man stripped bare, standing at an emotional crossroads with no clear path forward. He had sacrificed his musical career, his very soul, for the safety of Kate and the boys, and now his medical career, the path he had so painstakingly fought to reclaim, the dream he had promised Vera he would fulfill, was systematically denied to him. He was a doctor denied, a musician silenced. He was a man without a purpose. A profound despair settled over him, deeper and colder than any grief he had known before. He felt utterly, completely lost. The routines that had once anchored him, hospital rounds, studio sessions, were gone, replaced by a suffocating emptiness. He wandered through Kate's flat, a ghost in a home filled with life and love, feeling like an intruder in his own future. He was a constant gnawing reminder of his own unworthiness. A man who, despite all his efforts, always managed to ruin everything he touched. The bitterness festered. He felt cheated, robbed. He had endured unspeakable abuse, fought addiction, buried Vera, endured public humiliation, only to find himself here, at a dead end. He found himself retreating, falling into old, dangerous patterns of self-isolation. He would spend hours staring blankly at the wall, unable to read, unable to create, unable to connect. The energy to even engage in conversation felt like too much effort. His hands, though not actively trembling, felt heavy, useless. He yearned for the sharp focus of diagnosis, the raw catharsis of composing. Now there was only a void. Kate watched him, her heart aching. She saw the light dimming in his eyes, the familiar shadows of his past returning with a terrifying intensity. She saw him fighting quietly, desperately, to keep his head above water, but she also saw the increasing resignation. She tried to reach him, offer comfort, and pull him back from the brink. River, she would murmur, gently touching his hand as he sat, staring blankly out the window, his gaze distant. What are you thinking? He would sigh, a long, weary sound that carried the weight of profound sadness. Nothing. Everything. What am I supposed to do, Kate? I have no purpose. The music, it's gone. Medicine, it's gone. I'm just here, a burden. The word, so deeply ingrained from his childhood trauma, slipped out, raw and painful, an echo of Reagan's cruel accusations. "Don't you dare say that," Kate would reply, her voice firm, unwavering, pulling him closer, holding him fiercely. "You are not a burden. You are not without purpose. You are here. You are with me. You are with Liam and Finn. That is your purpose, River. You are loved. You are present. You are more than your profession. You are more than your fame. You are more than your past." She would gaze at him, her eyes filled with absolute conviction. "Your worth is not defined by external achievements, River. It's in who you are, in your heart, in your kindness, in your resilience." She tried to engage him, to find new avenues for his restless energy, his profound intelligence. She suggested volunteer work at a local community center, or perhaps teaching music to underprivileged children, or even just offering a listening ear at a mental health helpline. She saw the healer in him, the compassionate soul beneath the layers of pain and despair, but he resisted, too lost in his own desolation, too consumed by his sense of failure. He was a broken man, adrift, haunted by the specter of his lost purposes, and the terrifying knowledge that he was truly, finally, alone with his unworthiness. He was empty, a hollow shell where once purpose had thrived. Despair was a suffocating weight, pressing in on River, threatening to drown him completely. He felt himself spiraling, retreating into the familiar darkness of self-isolation. The world outside, with its continued fascination with the Velvet Mask's disappearance and the lingering whispers of scandal, felt distant, irrelevant. His days were a monotonous loop of emptiness, marked only by the relentless ache of his lost purposes. He felt like a ghost, fading slowly, his presence barely registering. Kate, however, was his unwavering anchor. Quiet, fierce strength in the storm. She never pressured him, never demanded he snap out of it, understanding the profound depth of his grief and despair. She simply was there, a constant loving presence that held him even when he felt he was falling apart. She understood his need for silence, for space, but she also knew when to gently, firmly pull him back from the precipice of utter withdrawal. She respected his boundaries, but she refused to let him disappear completely. She would sit with him in the quiet evenings, sometimes reading aloud from her favorite poetry, her voice a soft, soothing melody that gently filled the silence. Sometimes she would simply rest her head on his shoulder, her warmth a palpable comfort against his internal chill, her presence a silent testament to her unwavering love. She brought him his favorite tea, left him healthy, simple meals, always ensuring he ate, always making sure he knew he was cared for. She encouraged his small, tentative forays back into the world, a short walk in the park with Liam, a visit to a quiet art gallery, reminding him of the beauty that still existed. "You are so much more than what you do, River," she insisted one afternoon, her voice gentle, yet firm, as he sat staring blankly at a blank canvas he had tried and failed to sketch on. He had picked up the pencil, his fingers unresponsive, the joy of creation utterly absent. "Your worth is not defined by a medical degree or a platinum album. It's defined by who you are, by your kindness, by your resilience, by your profound capacity to love." River scoffed, a bitter, humorless sound that conveyed the depth of his self-loathing. "But what am I, Kate, without those things? Without a purpose? I'm just a man haunted by ghosts, a man who ruins everything he touches." His unworthiness screamed at him. He was useless. He was a burden. He was nothing. Kate knelt before him, taking his hands in hers, her gaze unwavering, filled with a love so absolute it almost brought him to tears. "You are River, my River, Liam and Finn's River. You are a man who has walked through hell and found your way back. You are a survivor. You are compassionate. You are intelligent. You are creative, even if you don't make music. You are present. You are here. And you are loved fiercely, unconditionally." She squeezed his hands, her warmth pouring into him. "You are enough, River. You have always been enough." She knew his scars, knew his trauma, knew his past addiction, his fundamental fear of abandonment, and she loved him anyway. Love that transcended all logic, all judgment. Her acceptance was a powerful antidote to the poison of his past, the constant accusations of his biological family, Lakin's contempt, Ireland's malice. She continued to gently encourage him to find new ways to connect with his innate desire to help, without the pressure of a formal profession. "Your hands are healing hands, River," she reminded him. "You don't need a white coat to help people. You don't need a title to make a difference. You possess a unique empathy, a profound understanding of pain." That's a gift, she gently suggested, volunteering at a local community center. Or perhaps working with disadvantaged youth, teaching them music, or even just offering a listening ear. Slowly, tentatively, a tiny flicker of hope began to stir within River, a fragile warmth against the cold despair. Kate's quiet strength, her unwavering belief, her endless patience was his lifeline. She wasn't trying to fix him, she was simply holding him, loving him, patiently waiting for him to find his own way back to himself. Their bond, forged in the crucible of adversity, was strengthening, becoming an unbreakable anchor in his life. He was still battling his demons, still haunted by the specter of his lost purposes, but he was not alone. And in Kate's quiet strength, in her boundless love, he found a glimmer of his own strength, a fragile rediscovery of his own worth. The path back from the precipice of despair was slow, arduous, and far from linear. River still had days, even weeks, when the profound emptiness would descend, a suffocating blanket that left him motionless, silent, adrift in a sea of his own making. The echoes of his lost purposes, the vibrant roar of the velvet mask now silenced, the sterile promise of medicine now denied, were a constant nagging ache. But Kate's unwavering love and quiet strength were a relentless current, gently, persistently pulling him forward, guiding him towards a new shore. He began to tentatively explore new avenues, urged on by Kate's gentle suggestions. He started volunteering at a local community center in Edinburgh, helping with an after-school program for teenagers. He didn't teach music, not yet. The thought of it was still too painful, too connected to the fame and fear he had fled, to the shattering of his identity. Instead, he helped with homework, particularly science and math, finding a quiet satisfaction in explaining complex concepts, seeing understanding dawn in a young person's eyes. He discovered a new kind of purpose in simply being present for them, offering guidance, a listening ear, a stable adult presence in lives that were often chaotic. He even started to recognize some of the same struggles in these teenagers that he had battled in his own youth. He also found a surprising solace in the rhythmic, tactile work of woodworking. He started attending a small local workshop, learning the craft from an elderly, gruff but kind craftsman named Hamish, whose gnarled hands and patient instruction were a comforting presence. The scent of sawdust and fresh wood filled his lungs, a welcome contrast to the hospital's antiseptic. His hands, though still prone to a faint tremor under stress, found a quiet focus in shaping wood, in the meticulous process of creation, of bringing something beautiful and functional into existence. He crafted small, intricate pieces, his mind finding a quiet peace in the tangible act of building, of turning raw material into something new. It was a different kind of artistry than music, but it was healing in its own way, a silent meditation on presence and purpose. His love for Kate and the boys remained his absolute anchor, the unwavering North Star in his often dark world. Liam and Finn, oblivious to the deeper turmoil in their stepfather's heart, accepted him completely, their innocent love a powerful antidote to his unworthiness. He read to them every night, played games, told silly stories, and his voice, once reserved for stadiums, now filled their small rooms with warmth. Their laughter, their trusting hands in his, were a constant reminder of the profound joy and purpose he had found in this unexpected family. He was present, truly present. Yet old scars remained, the shadow of his past, the haunting fear of his biological family of Lakin of Ireland never truly vanished. He still had moments of intense paranoia, scanning crowds, jumping at unexpected noises, the reflex of hypervigilance ingrained deep within him. He kept a low public profile, his name, River Hayes, carefully shielded from any connection to the Velvet Mask by Elias Vance's ongoing damage control and legal battles. He knew Ireland was still out there, her malice simmering, perhaps plotting her next move. The lingering threat of his exposed identity, of the long-term impact of the public scandal, was a burden he would likely carry forever. But he was learning to live with it, to integrate it into his new reality, to acknowledge the old scars without letting them define his present. He was a survivor, a work in progress, but he was no longer alone. And in Kate's fierce love, in the innocent joy of her sons, he was slowly, agonizingly, learning to heal, to find new purpose, and to understand that worthiness was not something earned, but something inherent. The calm that settled over River's life in Scotland was a hard-won peace, a fragile bloom in the shadow of relentless, unseen threats. He had found a new, quiet purpose in his volunteer work in woodworking, and the love he shared with Kate and her boys was a powerful anchor. But the world, and the ghosts of his past never truly let go. The media frenzy surrounding the Velvet Mask had subsided from a Category 5 hurricane to a persistent, irritating drizzle. Elias Vance's legal team had largely succeeded in getting the most egregious defamatory post removed and official retractions issued. The general public still associated the Velvet Mask with a scandalous unmasking, a troubled artist, but the specific malicious accusations were no longer front-page news. Yet the deep digital footprint of his identity remained, an indelible mark on his life. It was a permanent shadow he would never truly escape. Rivers stood at the window, arms crossed tight over his chest, staring out at the gray sky over the hills. The house was quiet. Kate had taken the boys to the park for the day, sensing he needed space, but not silence. His phone rang, unknown number. He answered anyway. Hello? Mr. Hayes? It's Amelia Davies. Her voice was cool and clipped. The kind of tone that said she'd had the conversation she was about to have a dozen times before, and hated it every single time. River braced. Go ahead. I've finished the preliminary review regarding the leaks in Miss Ireland Wyatt. Papers rustled in the background. I'm afraid the news is not in our favor. River closed his eyes. Just say it. We don't have a case for slander or defamation. He said nothing. She never lied, Mrs. Davies continued, efficient and merciless. She never accused you of anything provably false. She never used your legal name. She referred to the Velvet Mask, which you've admitted publicly and in contract as you. There's no basis for slander because she didn't fabricate anything. She simply framed the truth to cause damage. River's jaw clenched. She told the world my face, my secrets, my life. And you're saying that's just, what, legal? Not actionable, she corrected. Not under defamation law. Not unless we can prove she knowingly made false statements with malicious intent, which, unfortunately, doesn't apply. She didn't publish anything we can verify as an outright lie. River turned away from the window, pacing now. So what do we do, Amelia? A pause. She softened slightly. We may have a case for harassment, possibly for breach of personal boundaries, depending on whether we can tie her to specific threatening behavior, calls, messages, proximity incidents. But it's difficult, and the penalties aren't strong. If we push, it'll make headlines. And frankly, River, that may hurt more than hell. He ran a hand through his hair. So, I've got nothing. You have privacy rights, she replied, but they're fragile in your line of work. When you became the Velvet Mask, you gave the world just enough of yourself for them to feel entitled to the rest. That's the trade-off, and unfortunately, she played it perfectly. She made you public without ever breaking the law. His voice dropped. Cold, quiet. She hunted, and we'll pursue harassment accordingly, Davies replied. But the courts will not see what she did as stalking. Not unless we find a pattern of behavior beyond the publication. River stopped pacing. The room felt tighter, smaller. So that's it. She ruins my life and walks away with a podcast deal. It's not justice, she said, but it's what the law allows. I'll file the harassment claim Monday. It won't fix this, but it will put something on record. And if she pushes further, we'll have leverage next. Great, River muttered bitterly. A restraining order in exchange for a career. Another pause. I'm sorry, River, she said. And for the first time, she sounded like she meant it. Not as a lawyer, but as a human being. River didn't reply. You've made the right choice stepping away, she added. It's the only move that protects your family now. I know that doesn't feel like a win, but some victories are just about survival. He ended the call without another word. The silence in the room returned like a wave, pressing against his chest. No lawsuit, no redemption, no public vindication, just paperwork, protocol, and the quiet erosion of a persona he had spent a decade building. The Velvet Mask was dead, and Ireland Wyatt had killed him with the truth. Chapter 28, Ashes and Embers. River found Kate in the kitchen, unpacking groceries with mechanical focus. The boys' voices filtered faintly from upstairs, muffled by distance and laughter. A slant of late afternoon sunlight fell across the counter, golden, warm, but he felt none of it. She looked up as he entered. Her eyes scanned his face instantly, already sensing it. She began rubbing his arm to calm him, something she'd discovered he enjoyed. It was also part of a recommendation to ground people during a panic attack. What happened? He pulled out a stool and sat heavily. Just got off the phone with Davies. Kate stopped moving. The air shifted. River rubbed a hand down his face. We can't sue Ireland. Kate's brows pulled in, her voice low and sharp. What do you mean, we can't? She didn't break any laws, River said, his voice dull with disbelief, fatigue. She didn't lie. She never used my name. Everything she said technically lines up with stuff I've confirmed over the years. Interviews, rumors I never corrected. The law says she framed the truth, not fabricated it, so it's not slander. Kate stared at him. So she exposes your identity, ruins your career, opens the floodgates for God knows what, and walks away clean? Almost, he said. Davies is filing a harassment claim, that's all we've got. Kate's hands curled into fists on the edge of the counter. That's not nothing, but it's sure as hell not enough. River didn't answer. He was staring at a crack in the tile, as if something vital might be hiding there. Kate came around the counter slowly, crouching down in front of him. She placed a hand on his knee. Look at me, he did. And for a moment, he looked young, unmasked, just a man unraveled. This isn't your fault, she said, and I don't care what she took from you. She doesn't get this. Her hand slid up to his cheek. She doesn't get it. River swallowed hard. I kept thinking the law would fix it, that something would set it right, but it's all technicalities and paperwork, and he cut himself off. She didn't even break the mask. I did. The second I thought I could live both lives. Kate shook her head. No, you didn't break it. You wore it to protect the music, to protect us. She ripped it off you and tried to make that who you are. But you're more than a mask, River. You always have. He closed his eyes, overwhelmed by the weight of everything he was holding. The career turned to ash. The danger still stalking his peace, the hollow space where his identity used to live. I can't give you music anymore, he said, barely above a whisper. Not songs, not stages, not the version of me people love. Kate leaned in, rested her forehead against his. Then give me this version, the one that stayed, the one that shows up. Silence pulsed between them, heavier than grief, but softer somehow. There was no applause, no spotlight, no audience. Just her, just him. In the after, he let out a breath that trembled as it left him, then nodded. Kate rose, kissed the top of his head, and whispered, We're going to get through this. She didn't win, not really, you're still here. And that's everything. River wrapped his arms around her waist and held on, not because he was broken, but because she was the only thing left that felt whole.